them birds gonna fly. You already know. Rain, sleet, or snow. Eagles train to go.
All right, let's talk about it. Just like how we had the mid-season evaluation during the bye week in week 9, where the Eagles were 6-2, evaluating the whole team, the staff, and every player on the team. We're going to do a full season evaluation as well this time. The Eagles ended the 2025 season with 11 wins and 6 losses. They made it to the playoffs, but did not move on past the first round. So evaluating the whole team, we're going to start with the owner again like the first time. Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, just like the first time, I have nothing but good things to say about him and what he does for the team. He said he never had a problem with the offense and he wasn't worried about it. And that to me seemed to be a problem because, the season ended with the offense being the problem. But other than that, nothing wrong with Jeffrey Lurie. He does what he has to do to pay the players and keep the team contending. Howie Roseman did a good job during the bye week and the trade deadline, and during that time period, bringing in more talent to the team. Jalen Phillips being the highlight of that. He also does a good job as well. Like the first half of the season, I have nothing but good things to say about him. But my gripe with him towards the end of the season and during his end of season press conference with the coach, he's willing to sacrifice a rotational OC door forever if it means win right now. And I understand that everything is about winning, but the team is still paying for that on the back end. So that's something that they have to figure out, but it seems like they have it figured out. Other than that, Howie Roseman does a great job as well. With Coach Sirianni, during this season right here has made me change my stance on him because it's easy to have blinders on when things are good. And I can't take away the success that he's had and brought to the team. When the team seems to have the same problem all the time and they're having that problem during different seasons and it can never be fixed or adjusted during the season, and the season always ultimately ends because of that problem, that's a coaching thing. And for a guy that's supposed to be on the offensive side of the ball, the team always stalls out with something that has to do with offense and it never gets addressed or fixed. It always seems like they're trying to blame QB1 for Sirianni's lack of creativity. They always talk about some plays that QB1 can't run as if Sirianni has a bag of tricks that he's been hiding from the league. I don't believe that to be so, because if that was the case, we would have saw it in crucial games and certain games, and you for sure would not need an offensive coordinator every year. So I don't believe that Sirianni is just this mastermind of offense and he just doesn't have his quarterback. I refuse to believe that. I feel like he's just a glue guy for certain things. And just like in any business, when you're having production and things are going well, glue guys matter, and you don't want to rock the boat about things like that, because when people like that are gone, then you really see what they brought to the table. I don't see anything that he's doing. He doesn't have any innovative plays. He's not calling plays, and he's not coaching technique. He's not doing anything. He's just a CEO. And I understand those are needed sometimes, but at the end of the day, his stubbornness is making this window a lot tighter than it has to be, because 2023 was a wasted year. Even if the Eagles were not going to win the Super Bowl that year, just getting bounced in the first round, winning 10 games and then losing one, then winning another one, being 11-1 and then collapsing after that, which wasn't the worst thing in NFL history, by the way, but you leave it to the media, it is. And he never really bounced back from that. He didn't redeem himself. Winning the Super Bowl, that was something that was done with a different OC, and now you need another one again because you hired your friend and you refuse to do anything. He's calling your plays. He's calling his friends in the media and telling them this is not my fault and all of that stuff. It's just a messy situation. I'm spending too long talking about him, but it's because he's the elephant in the room right now as far as what happened with the season and how it ended up going this way. Conservative play style, it works sometimes, but it's not going to work every time in today's NFL, and it's only working based on talent alone. Because if your players weren't that good, you would have to take shots and try to score all the time. So just this playing to not lose and trying to get the lead and leaning on the defense, it's not going to work in this NFL that head coaches or offensive coordinators and they're calling things up and they're scheming things up specifically for the game they're about to play. They're not just relying on a play sheet just from the summer. They're setting things up during the course of the game. I don't get any of that from Sirianni, and these players are too good in their prime right now to just kind of coach them like a high school team, just motivating them and hoping that they do things on talent alone. I don't like it, and it's really going to cost the team right now, and we have to figure out what we're going to do about him. Speaking of offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, I said it during the midseason evaluation. He wasn't right for the job. Trying to give him some time to land on his feet. The guy is just getting his feet wet doing the job. But he's learning on the job, and that's not what you do with high caliber players with a team that just came off winning a Super Bowl trying to go back to back. You don't do that. And he was ultimately let go from that position. I'm hearing that he wasn't fired like the initial report stated. Now it's saying that this guy is still in the building somehow, but it's been leaked that he leaked things to the media while being the offensive coordinator of the team. So I don't know why he's still in the building. I don't know how that works. Getting demoted and not fired, though, that's just bad for business as well. Why is this guy still around? Just let him go. And that's another Nick Sirianni problem. That's his disciple. He's calling his plays. He's supposedly fixing things during the season. They never fixed anything. Myself, I assume that this guy has some secret plays that was going to come out in the playoffs, and we saw the last play of the game in the playoffs. So at the end of the day, he's finally gone from that position.
I mean, there was a couple plays where we were just running to run it, right? And
Fangio did a good job this year, but I think what he might have to do is start blitzing a little more in some capacity. The problem with the Eagles defense is that they're still giving up way too much yards to any quarterback. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They're going to get over 250 yards on the Eagles. And if they're a good quarterback, they're probably going to get 300 and something yards. And it's just based on the play style. When something gets exploited, it gets exploited bad. But when it's working, it's working. But I feel like the quarterbacks, sometimes they just have too much time back there. If the rush doesn't get home, it just doesn't really work out. And it kind of puts the defense in a bad spot, and whoever is the weakest in the secondary usually gets exploited. And if it's a veteran quarterback, they're going to kind of find that gap. And especially if they have too long back there because the rush is not getting home. So Fangio does a good job. He did a good job this season. Can't wait for what he does next season with whoever the team acquires and things like that. I know people are trying to poach his staff right now, so we'll see how that works out. But, it's just the stability of having Fangio in the building is just a good thing that the team knows, like, okay, he's always there. We can rely on the fact that he's going to be there to stabilize at least one side of the ball. And speaking of the rush not getting home, we'll start with the defensive line and Jalen Carter. I'm not sure what needs to happen right now. This season was not the best season for him. He played injured most of the season at the beginning of the season. Everybody was giving him flack for that, looking like he wasn't showing a lot of effort on some plays and, just taking some plays off. But we came to find out that he was injured and eventually he had to be out for a couple of weeks and get procedures done on both of his shoulders and things like that. He came back towards the end of the season and he played a little better, but just didn't really make too much of an impact for the team this year. Not the expectations that, he was supposed to have coming off a Super Bowl and being in his third year and stuff like that. But I feel like right now with him, the problem is the image that he has in the NFL is affecting his production. And that's unfair to him. And, he goes at it with the refs because he clowns them sometimes just based off the simple fact he knows that they're affecting his game and ultimately cheating the Eagles out of certain things. You know, I don't want to be a homer, but sometimes when I see a big play happen for the other team, I'm watching somebody holding Jalen Carter in that moment. And it doesn't happen every single time, but I've seen it plenty of times. You know, when you're watching the television and you're watching the game, the thing that you're privy to is the defensive line and the offensive line. That's what the camera is literally on. And if you don't look at the quarterback when the play is on, if you train yourself to just watch the line, you can know everything that's happening on the line, most of the things that's happening on the line, just even watching the television game and not seeing the all 22. And on TV, sometimes they don't even show certain replays because somebody's holding Jalen Carter when that big throw and catch happened for the other team. So, his reputation in the league is not the best, and it's not working out for him as far as stats are concerned. And unless he has some real hungry dogs working alongside of him, he's not really going to get the production numbers. Somebody else has to clean that up. So I'm looking forward to him to have a dominant year next year. You know, he has to switch some things up. This year, he didn't play the first game of the year. So he had better stats this year. He only played in 11 games, but, 3 sacks, but 7 pass deflections. And that's a big deal. That was just a lot of passes that didn't even make it past the line. So Jalen Carter had a decent year, but hopefully he has a better year next year. Moro Ojomo. He had a great year as far as production compared to the year before. He was asked to play a lot more snaps, and he played in 17 games this year. He had 6 sacks this year. He went into the bye week with like 4, maybe 4.5. So kind of tapered off towards the end of the season. But nevertheless, he had a good year. But it's still upwards to go for him, and hopefully he keeps hitting that stride, working alongside Jalen Carter and, being dominant in his own right. Pretty fast guy, powerful, getting to the quarterback and also getting better at stopping the run. Jordan Davis had a big year this year. He stepped it up big time this year, and especially in the games that Jalen Carter didn't get to play. Jordan Davis played 17 games this year and had the most snaps he's had 4.5 sacks this year and 6 pass deflections as well. Everybody remember the blocked field goal from the Rams game that stopped the game winner that he also returned for the touchdown. So he had a big year this year, and, he still has upwards to go as well. And, hopefully the team continues to grow him. He seems that he's coming into his role. Hopefully he's a captain soon, because this year he was very vocal. You've seen him on the team social media, and he was in all of the videos, and he seems like a guy that's just, a great teammate. So shout out to Jordan Davis. Nolan Smith Jr. was injured this year, a lot as well. He had 12 games that he played in, 3 sacks and 1 forced fumble. I felt like he lacked in production this year due to injury, of course. With the addition of Brandon Graham and Jalen Phillips, I felt like he kind of disappeared a little bit because he didn't feel that pressure anymore. So I don't know if the pressure was better for him. He was stepping it up a lot earlier in the year, but later in the year after the injury and coming back, he kind of disappeared a little bit. Hopefully he has a bigger year next year. Hopefully he has a bigger role next year, because I'm sure BG is not coming back. And just a quick shout out to Brandon Graham, came back, got 3 sacks, and kind of joined the team towards the later half of the season and was able to produce in certain games and just be part of the rotations. Jalen Phillips' addition to the team, it was a good one. He was highly productive. He was able to play 8 games with the team coming in after the bye week, and he had 2 sacks and 4 pass deflections. He also had a forced fumble as well. And he was always just in the mix, getting to the quarterback. You always saw him flashing in the quarterback's face and forcing them to change directions and being part of, tackles and all of that type of stuff. So he's a good player. He wants to stay with the team. Hopefully they can work something out there, because it was a disappointing way to kind of end joining the team in the bye week, a team that was just in the championship games and stuff last year, and then you didn't even make it far in the playoffs at all. So I know that was highly disappointing. So he probably wants to find his way back to the team. Not sure if he wants to come back, because being in the locker room, you might know the inner workings of certain things that makes you not want to come back that the public doesn't know. But hopefully he comes back. Zack Baun, he kind of had a quiet year compared to last year. He played in 16 games. He had 3.5 sacks, 7 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. So the production was there. He was still, a tackling machine and always in the mix. I feel like this year he didn't play as freely as he played last year. And maybe that was because, he was the green dot this year. And that might have him having more responsibility in the thinking aspect of the game. And that might slow him down just a tad bit in comparison to if he's just playing freely and doing whatever else he's doing. I feel like he was somewhat effective in the blitz game, and he might get better in that. But, he had a decent year, but compared to last year, wasn't the best. But he's also in the Pro Bowl this year for the Eagles. So he was a player that made the Pro Bowl along with Jalen Carter as well. Forgot to mention that earlier. Nakobe Dean was injured this season as well. For a majority of the season, he was in 10 games, totaled 4 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. He was very effective in blitzing the quarterback and blowing up running backs to do it. And it was very much needed in particular points of the game. When he came back, the Eagles' run defense improved immediately because when he wasn't there, the Eagles were getting gashed in the run department. The only game that the Eagles had a bad run defense while he was in the game was the game against Chicago. But other than that, he was very much blowing up running backs all the time and filling that gap. So Nakobe Dean, hopefully they bring him back as well. That's another contract guy right now that not sure if the team's just going to move on. And it's just based on injury because he's obviously a glue to that defense. Anybody that watches the game and anybody that watches the Eagles know that Nakobe Dean is definitely a force on that defense, and they feed off his energy. And he's kind of the one right now that kind of has the attitude on defense for the Eagles, especially when it comes to being physical in the linebacker room. So hopefully they could work something out with him. Crowder Jr., speaking on him real quick, I feel like the team should definitely invest in him since he was drafted by the team. Hopefully they, continue to develop him because he has a passion for the game, and he just definitely needs to stay around. And to me right now, he's better than Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell, even though he was the number 1 draft pick for the team, I feel like he's a good player and has a chance to be even a better player in the future. But for now, he has some things that he has to work on. And I'm not sure if it's something that can just happen overnight, because it's not things that has to do with him as a football player. It's kind of an attitude thing. I spoke about Nakobe Dean blowing up running backs to get to the quarterback. When it's happening, it's happening. And the running back has to stand their ground, because if not, they're going to be on the ground. And that's what's happening with Nakobe Dean. But when Jihad Campbell is asked to blitz the quarterback, he's chopping his feet. He's getting into a fight with running backs, and sometimes they're playing him. And it's just bad business. It's sad to see. They invested in him, so they have to play him. But there are times that it's a liability to play him, especially in the run game and trying to get to the quarterback. He's better in coverage, and hopefully he continues to develop. He was drafted by the team, so they're invested in him, and hopefully they continue to develop him, and he can be a way better player in the future. Quinyon Mitchell had a great year this year. He's an outstanding player. That's the first person that's just going to get that in this video. We have to acknowledge the fact that when he makes a mistake, opposing teams and fans are so excited about it because it's something that doesn't happen. So they just talk about it. You can see it in the highlight videos. If a receiver catches a ball on Quinyon Mitchell, other team is so excited because they know the rest of the game that's not going to happen. So we just, we have to be proud of that guy. He's an all-pro this year, and he's just coming along. He had 2 interceptions in the final game of the season for the Eagles in the playoffs. And he's going to continue to develop, because a player like that coming in and just being basically a great player to start their career. It's only going to go up from there. So, good luck to him the rest of his career. Hopefully he stays an Eagle the rest of his career. Moving on to Cooper DeJean, another All-Pro this year. He's doing an outstanding job as well. And, he's in the mix, racking up tackles all the time. And he's good in coverage, trying to keep up with tight ends and stuff like that. A lot of the tenured guys are the ones that kind of give him work sometimes in the slot, because these receivers, they're specialists at their jobs as well. But that's only going to make him better because he's facing the best of them right now as a young player. So Cooper DeJean is also a great player for the Eagles, and hopefully he stays an Eagle the rest of his career as well, just stabilizing that secondary for years to come. Adoree Jackson started off rough this year. He was the new guy, and he was getting picked on starting from that Dallas game to start the season, and it just kind of looked like it was going to be downhill the rest of the year from there. But he improved as the year went along. Maybe he was getting better in Fangio's system, but he got better and, keeping up in coverage, and he was doing his thing. He played in 14 games. He was kind of injured in some games, but he was able to rack up 11 PBUs and 1 interception. So, he had a decent rest of the year compared to how he started the year. Not sure if they're going to bring him back, but, started rough but ended better. Ringo just needs to go. I'm not sure why he's still on the team and why he gets the chances that he's still getting, because even though he's good on special teams, which is just a broken record at this point because that's his only redeeming quality that anybody ever says about him when they have to give him some type of compliment. But he's just taking up a roster spot, not being good at his primary position. When he comes in, it's an automatic liability. He's going to get the flag, and it's going to be a 60-yard flag or a 50-yard flag or an end zone flag or a red zone flag. Just a liability altogether, and just never improving in the position, and it's been years now, so they just need to move on from Kelee Ringo. Jakorian Bennett is just confusing to me because he's an NFL player, so I can't say he's not good. He made it to the league, but every time he plays, he's going to hug you and he's going to tackle you when the ball is in the air. That's just what's going to happen. He did it in the preseason, and he did it when he got the opportunity to play this season as well, and he's just, same thing with Kelee Ringo. He's going to guarantee that 60-yard flag and put the other team in the red zone and put them easily in the end zone. So I just don't understand what's going on with him as well. I don't know if it's a technique thing. He's sticky to the receiver, but he's definitely going to tackle the receiver with the ball in the air. So I don't know what's going on with Jakorian Bennett. Michael Carter II had a good showing in that last game of the season against Washington when he had to come in for Cooper DeJean because the starters didn't play. I'm not sure what the team is going to do with him. I know he wanted to be with the team really badly, so hopefully they keep him, because you want that in a player, somebody that actually wanted to be a part of the team and wants to be on the team. Keeping it in the secondary, Blankenship, he kind of regressed without Mukuba this year. In the beginning of the year, he was standard Blankenship, he's not a great player, but he's a pretty good player. And he's going to tackle, and he's going to have a lot of effort and stuff like that. And it shows in the styles of interceptions that, he used to have. He only had 1 interception this year and 1 forced fumble. He was 3rd on the team in tackles. So like I said, he's going to tackle and he's going to play with effort. But the thing with him is when he was teaching Mukuba, he was a little better because it probably brought out the best in him as a captain this year as well. But as soon as Mukuba left due to injury, it kind of took away from Blankenship, and he's the slower guy on the team, so I'm not sure if they're going to bring him back or not. They made him a captain this year, so those are signs that the team likes him and they might give him a contract and keep him, but he's also another guy that I'm not sure if they're bringing back after this year or not. Andrew Mukuba got injured during the midway point of the season. He played only in 11 games this season, but he had 3 interceptions. But those 3 interceptions also came with a lot of busted coverage and missed tackles and stuff like that. So, hopefully he comes back stronger from injury and he is a better player as well, because he seems to be a ball hawk, because playing in 11 games and getting 3 interceptions, if he got to play the rest of the season, he might have got, a chance to get 1 or 2 more interceptions. So hopefully he improves on that, and he improves on his coverage skills and learning the system a little better, and just being in communication with the other players in the secondary that are all pros as young players, because it'll only help him improve. So I'm looking forward to that for him and being better. Sidney Brown is just kind of like a Kelee Ringo in a sense, but he plays safety when he gets to play, so he's hitting a lot more. The thing with him is, he's going to hit, and he's also a special teams gunner as well. So, I don't know what else to say about him, but he definitely can survive over Kelee Ringo, but he's just another guy that's yet to really taken a large step forward and improving in his primary position. Lane Johnson, we have